Hey everybody, welcome to Getting Started with FormAssembly. We're so excited to be here with you, and we're going to be giving you some hot tips on how to be efficient, quick, and consistent with your form builds. I'm Lindsay. I'm a part of our implementation specialist team on our services team. And when I'm not teaching people how to build awesome forms, I like to work in my basement pottery studio.
Hey guys, I'm Beth Miller. I'm one of the customer success managers here at FormAssembly. Not as creative as Lindsay with the pottery making, but when I have some free time, I just love going for a nice stroll with my dogs.
Awesome. All right, well, going through our set list today, we are going to cover 3 different hot tips for building out those forms. We'll start with how you can be efficient with those form builds by covering the 5 W's of form building, and also go through an actual use case so you can see how that brainstorming goes on the back end. We'll also talk about how the way that you start your form really has an impact on how quickly that form can go live. And lastly, we'll wrap up with how you can be consistent on your look and feel of forms across multiple forms and multiple users. So what do you think, Beth? You ready to rock and roll?
Let's rock and roll. Let's do it.
Do it. All right. So starting off with efficiency, right? So biggest hot tip, your form building begins before you even log into FormAssembly. So it's really important that you have a well-rounded understanding of your form before you even start. So we're going to talk about how to do that using the 5 W's of form building. And I'm sure you've used this a whole bunch in your life or your job, but it is that who, what, when, where, and why, right? So we're going to start with why. Why are you even making this form? Why do your respondents need to fill out this form?
Yeah, the next one we're going to think about is who. Who is the target audience? Maybe they're students. Maybe it is someone who does not have a lot of technical background. Maybe they're respondents who are internal and they do have a large, vast technical background. So really keeping in mind who those people are that will be filling out that form so that you can tailor it to make it as user-friendly as possible for that group of respondents.
And then we jump into what is really going to take the bulk of your time, and that is the what. So what needs to be included in your form, right? What fields, what logic, what connectors, and ultimately, what do you want that entire process to look like from start to finish? So ultimately, this one will probably take you the most time. But then we can wrap up with the next one. So that's going to be...
Yeah, when? When do you want this form to be available? Is it going to be a form that is continual? It's going to stay published or out there? Or maybe you have a specific timeline. Maybe you have a cutoff date. So really thinking about that availability. When do you want the form to be available? And do you need a quota for it? Maybe it's only open to the first 100 responses. So thinking about that availability, when should that form stay open for people to respond to? And shooting it back over to you for where?
Yeah, and that's where. So where is this form going to be published, right? Where are your respondents going to be able to access this form? So this all makes great sense, right? But I think, Beth, let's pretend that we're going through an actual use case, right? Let's do some real-time brainstorming here. What type of use case do you think we should use?
Yeah, I love a good model. Really helps people kind of grasp the concept behind it. I'm thinking let's do one that could apply to probably most of the people who are here, and that's professional development. So let's maybe think about a professional development registration form.
That is incredible because that's what I have in our slide deck here. Perfect. What? Excellent. Okay, so how about you pretend to kind of be the form builder, right? And then I'm just going to help out with the questions on the back end. So let's start with why, right? Why would respondents need to fill out this form?
Yeah. So, Lindsay, I have a professional development that's hosted for the company once a month. And currently, don't judge here, but our process is I shoot out the topic in the newsletter. And then if people want to attend, they just email me back. And then I'm taking those emails, updating a spreadsheet. Um, it's just a lot of manual work, and I know it's a little behind. So I'm hoping maybe you can help me with kind of streamlining that process.
Yeah, absolutely. No judgment here. We've all been there. But that's a great North Star, right? Being able to say, hey, let's save some time and document the attendees and what they want to learn. That's perfect. Okay. So you said that this is internal. Have you tell me a little bit more about who's going to be filling out this form?
Yeah. So this should be available to anyone company wide within our organization. I want to make sure that it's almost like locked down, almost like a gate. I don't want it to be shared out on LinkedIn, or I don't want it to be shared with friends or family, because we have some really great sessions. And not that I don't want to share the love, but I want to keep it to just my internal organization who will be able to attend.
Excellent. Totally doable. You're going to be able to access that through the availability settings in your form. And you can do something like putting it behind a SAML or like single sign-on gate. So they have to essentially authenticate through that to be able to log into the form. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that would be awesome. The other thing is, when I'm thinking about the who, everyone's busy, right? Everyone is trying to do a million and one plus jobs. If there is any way that we could take that login and maybe pre-fill some of that information for them, help them, because I'm thinking about it. If they have a long form to fill out, I think they're going to be less likely to go ahead and register. So maybe something that would help my respondents, my employees, be able to quickly register.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have that SAML pre-fill, right? So you can pre-fill those session parameters into the form right away. So definitely doable. And that kind of lends us into our next question, which is what, right? So what needs to be included? We've identified that we need to have that pre-fill, right? Make it easy. Maybe also conditional logic so that they're only answering questions that are relevant to them. But what else? What else needs to be included?
Yeah, absolutely. So we definitely need to collect their contact information. I'm thinking maybe if we collect what department they're coming from, that's how we can kind of categorize the form. But all this data that I'm collecting, I mainly need to make sure it's going two places. I need to go over to my Salesforce, but then I also like to provide a spreadsheet to my speaker that's coming in with all the questions that they have so they can prepare. So some type of connection to an Excel sheet, if that would be possible. And then also, when I'm thinking about it after that, if I could go ahead and send an email to the respondent, letting them know, I want the team to know, yes, you are registered, you're good to go, but maybe also to their manager, so that their manager could see that who on their team is registered for the event. That seems like a lot. Is all that going to be doable here?
Hey, absolutely. So what you're describing here is what I would refer to as that process, right? That we talked about. And when we think process, we think workflow. So if we're pre-filling, right? We have that set up. Then through workflow, we'd be able to have those multiple connectors sending to Excel and Salesforce, and then also sending out multiple outgoing email steps. So this is totally doable within workflow. So we can set it up in that way. But that sounds great. Does that sound like it would save you a lot of time, a lot of that
Yes.
manual input?
Yes. If we can make this happen, yes. Awesome.
Excellent. Okay, so that's going to be the bulk of your time that we talked about. Then tell me a little bit more about when.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
when this form is available.
So this is recurring every month, but I want a strict cutoff of a week before. So that would that be something that we could do? Have a cutoff date where it's set in stone. That way, my speaker has time to prep those questions that they're getting. So that week before would be really helpful.
Yeah, you've got it. So that would be right where we set up the who, right? Where we set up that kind of authentication on who can fill out the form. Same place. That's where you can set the timeline, right? So when is that cutoff and when is that form no longer available? Then it can show an unavailable message. So you had mentioned that you do this monthly, right? So you could say, hey, this form has been closed, or the sign up has been closed. Keep a lookout for our next one, which will launch on this date. Right. So you can kind of use
Awesome.
that as a helpful way to get them engaged for the next session.
What about whenever we have a limited time, for example, or a limited amount? So most of my sessions are open completely. However, we do have some times where we are only able to offer like 100 seats or 50 seats. How can I account for that? Do I just need to monitor and kind of watch when that fills up, or what can I do there?
Nah, girl, we got you. Same place, right? Same exact place in that availability. We're gonna add in a quota. So we could say, hey, this is open until the week before the presentation or the first 50 responses. So it's more of one of those who hits first, and then it
Nice.
would become unavailable. So
Yeah. If we can
yeah,
have
we're gonna be
both,
able.
perfect.
Yep. All right. Now rounding it out, we've got the where, right? So that's the last little bit. Where are they going to be able to access this form?
Yeah, so I need this to be able to be published two places. I want it to be included in my newsletter that goes out monthly, but I also want it to be posted online to our website. Can we do both of those?
Easy peasy. Yep. So in our documentation, we've got a really awesome chart that compares all of the different publishing methods that we have. But we've got those FormAssembly hosted URLs, but we also have iframe, embed, right? All of those other options right in that same spot. So when you get to that point, just make sure you compare which one's going to work best.
Awesome.
And that's it.
Guys, yes, I hope you are able to not only use kind of this as an example of what the form building process could look like, but to inspire you and your team, because this is what I am going to start telling my customers when they are brainstorming, whenever they are planning. This is a really great way to think through, and I hope that the modeling of the process is helpful. But we got more to go. Let's start talking. We've talked over the efficient. Now we're going to move on to quick, because we also understand that maybe you don't have hours to build your form, right? Maybe you're looking for what can FormAssembly offer feature-wise that can help me do it quick. So 4 different ways to start a form. So you can start a new fresh form from scratch. You can start from a template. You can use the Salesforce import tool or the clone. So Lindsay's going to screen share right there and kind of show you where these options are. So when we're talking about, yep, cool. When we're talking about quick, I'm going to skip over to those next 3, because building from scratch that blank form, it maybe not be quick, right? Because you're building from scratch. Great place to use kind of as a sandbox to get in there, start figuring out how conditional logic can work, how to set up a dynamic pick list, and really kind of familiarizing yourself and testing out the features. But if you are looking to do it quick, we have a template feature. The template feature, Lindsay's going to kind of highlight in a few more slides, but brief version, the template feature is going to allow you to have access to the templates that FormAssembly has already made for you, and also allow you to build your own templates to share within your instance. Really quick way to be able to get in there and start going. The next one over is something that I think is often missed, and this is our Salesforce import tool. So this powerful feature is going to allow you to almost build backwards. So the goal is not building the form. The goal is collecting the data, right? So if you are one of our Salesforce users and you have that Salesforce add-on, you have the ability to go into the import, select what Salesforce fields you know for sure that you need to capture. And then the nice thing is it's going to build it onto the form for you and plug it into a connector. So the connector is already going to start being built for you. So that's a huge win for getting started quick. The last one, clone a form, clone this form, clone that form, clone away. Clone can help you with testing, but it can also help you share quickly. For example, the use case we were doing right now, if I'm doing it monthly, maybe I want to separate it by that professional development each month. Instead of starting from scratch, instead of maybe tweaking that initial form, I can just clone that baby and get started right there. With cloning, your connector configurations are going to come over. You've got to reauthorize. That's easy peasy, but you will need to go ahead and update your notifications. Those are not going to come over with you. But as far as your conditional, any calculations that you have in there, all the meat, that is automatically going to be cloned for you. So we've talked about how you can be efficient. We talked through the use case. We've talked about quick. Now I'm going to shoot it over to Lindsay for consistent.
Awesome. Thanks, Beth. That was killer. Loved it. Great way to start different forms. But many users are going to be working across your instance, right? So how can we ensure that we are able to be consistent across the board? I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and talk through different features that allow us to do that. Really leverage that consistency. So we'll talk about predefined content, theme customization, templates, like Beth said, and branding. All right. Are you ready, Beth?
Let's do it. Let's go.
Let's do it. All right. Excellent. Pulling it up here. Okay. So let's jump in. I've already got our FormFest 2025 form started here. If I go into my builder, talking first about predefined content. Predefined content is one of my favorite features. I geek out about it. I'm not embarrassed. But it really is like a little mini template. So any fields that you want, like a group of fields or an entire page, you can mark as predefined content to be able to use as a little chunk of form building on any form that you're using moving forward. So let's take a look at what that might look like. If we hover over add content and we go to predefined content, you can see I've created a whole bunch here. But if I were to go to maybe that personal information and I want to add in address fields, I can add in address. And if I scroll to the bottom of my form, all of these fields right here were just added in one click. So including this conditional logic, right? So huge time saver when it comes to making sure that all of that logic is consistent across the board. But how do you make it, right? Because it doesn't come kind of preloaded. What you would do is you just highlight whatever it is you'd like to have. So I'd highlight this, for example, go to our blue best friend, that options button, scroll down to the bottom of our section properties and add to predefined content. Once I click that, I can give it a name and a category, and then you can use it. Do keep in mind, though, that with predefined content, initially it is only available for you. But if you want it available for the rest of your instance, then you would go to the admin dashboard and make it public. All right. Moving forward here, we will talk about themes, right? So that theme customization. If I select my themes, you can see here I've created a bunch of themes, but we have all different ones that we could pick from, right? So maybe I like the look of Arctic air. So I can take a look at Arctic air, but the colors don't really match my brand. So if I use the drop-down arrow and select customize, I can change the name of this theme, maybe FormFest 2025, right? And then I can come in, I can add my logo, change the size, maybe change my background color, right? I can change all of these different options and make sure that they fit our brand. And then once I save it, then I can use it across any other form, right? So I have a bunch of customers that they maybe loop in their marketing team to help build their themes to make sure that they're on brand. And then they can just use them. Then they don't have to worry about it. It's kind of like a crock pot, right? You do all the work up front and then it takes care of itself the rest of the way. So definitely recommend setting up that custom theme. Same thing as predefined content. Once you initially make it, it's only available to you as the person who made it, but then you can make it public in the admin dashboard. All right. Then we are going to go to templates, right? We talked about that briefly. A lot of these features, they also align with quick, right? Being able to do things quickly. So two birds, one stone. We love it. Okay, so we talk about the templates, right? So if I were to go to new form and go to my template library here, This initial list is the form or the templates that you or your team have created. These are your what's called public templates. Keep in mind, public does not mean all of FormAssembly public. It just means public within your umbrella instance. We can also browse that template library, which is also available on the left-hand side here. We have another view of those public templates. They just look different. We have these training templates, which Beth briefly mentioned. These are incredible. If you are a doer, right, you have to do it to learn it. This is where you should go because it's amazing starting points that really walk you through the different kind of higher level features or things that you want to accomplish without you having to start from scratch. So if you wanted to learn more about routing conditional emails, you can do that here. But also under more, we have our top 99 most common use cases. And I apologize if you're an even number person like me. It is our top 99. I wish it was 100, but here we are. They do have best practices already in place. So they are amazing starting points. It may not be exactly what you need for your specific use case, but it can have, 80% of what you need already in there. And then you can just make small adjustments. So feel free to click use and make those your own. And lastly, if I were to go back to my forms list, and let's say I wanted to make the FormFest 2025, I wanted to make this a template. I would go into my builder, and let's go ahead and recover that form. I'll scroll over to the left-hand side to collaboration. This is where you could transfer ownership of your forms to someone else. This is where you can share it with someone else so that it shows up on both of your forms lists. But it's also where we have our templates. So if you toggle this on, that's going to say that, hey, this form is now in your templates list. And I may be sounding like a broken record here, but once you make it a template, it is only available to you as the person who made it until you make it public in the admin dashboard. But since we're going to talk about branding, I might as well show you that admin dashboard. If I hover over my username here, keep in mind, you do have to have the admin permissions in order to access the admin dashboard, but then you would just select that option there. From there, you can see on the left-hand side, we have those templates, predefined content, and themes. So if I were to select maybe predefined content, you could see that I have it listed as private, but I can go to the side over here in our drop-down caret and say, make it public. Same thing with form themes and templates, so simple. But just below those two, we have the form header and footer. So this is where we can set really umbrella branding across the instance. We can set a default page header, page footer, even a head element, right? So any of these three, you can set in custom HTML in here to be able to set those. And Beth, you had mentioned in our use case example, wanting to send a PDF of that form response to the respondent. Here, you can set up that PDF header and footer to have custom branding with HTML and CSS. Think like a letterhead, right? So you have got your logo on top and things like that. So it is branded and is definitely better than being blank, right? So with these, you are setting defaults so that it is consistent across your entire instance. You can set custom branding on the user level and form level, so do keep that in mind, but it can be quick and efficient and consistent to go ahead and set it up as a default. Keep in mind that if you're adding custom code here, that's not really something our support team can help troubleshoot, but it is available for you to use here. All right, and that's what we've got for consistent. Let's see here. Beth, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I've seen the questions rolling in. I see one that I want to get to, but I'm going to need a second to pull up a few different screens. But let's see. I've seen this one come up a bit. I think you may have answered it. So, but just to make sure that everyone knows, they're wanting to know if they create predefined content, can they share that with others on their team?
Yeah, easy peasy. So I'll go ahead while you're pulling that up, Beth. I'll go ahead and share my screen again to kind of talk through how to achieve that. So remember, you do have to have those admin permissions on your user account to access that admin dashboard. But when you do access that admin dashboard, under your form management, so if it's in the dropdown like this, you can use your dropdown right here. Dropdown. Select that predefined content or template or themes, right? And then select whichever one you're looking for. Use your drop-down caret and make it public. So definitely able to do that. And once you do, if I go back to my form, I'll show again, you're able to access that under add content and predefined content. So it's available on any form that you would build.
Cool. I'm going to grab this screen share from you, if you don't mind, real quick.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go ahead and share this entire screen. So we had a couple of people asking for examples of what you could do with branding. So I thought I could just show you real quick some examples that have been made by our team, right? Just to kind of give you an idea of how you can level up your form. Let's see. Okay. Are we able to see? There we go. Perfect. So this one I think really shows what a background image can do when adding. Keep in mind, again, anything with the branding that's requiring custom code is not something our support team that can help with, but I do want to kind of just show you and give you an idea of what that can look like. Another great one that immediately came to my head that some of you might be familiar with is our support form. So if you have created a support ticket from our website, you're taken to the support form right here that was built by one of our solution engineers. Love how they put the logo in the background too. The rounded edges look super nice on that too. Let's take a look here. Another application form example with the background image there. This one's a little different too. So I thought this was kind of just like a nice, clean, simple example. And then show you can have some fun with the forms too. So sometimes we think about forms just being that black and white, simple, but you can pretty much, if you can think it, you can make it, right? So absolutely, some great examples there. One thing about branding that I think is very helpful, when I think about when I'm filling out a form, for example, as a real person, maybe my daughter's dance registration or whatever it may be, if someone sends me a link and I click on it, if it doesn't kind of match up to what I know that branding should be for that organization, I'm going to be very hesitant to click that link or to continue or give them any of my information, right? Especially for if you have payment connectors on there and you're collecting payment. So highly recommend to add some branding to your form to just really give your trust to your respondents so that they know it is legit, right? Help give them that comfort of knowing what they are filling out is actually you, right? So Lindsay, it has been great. I hope the audience was all able to gather something from this. I still see that there is a lot of questions in there that we haven't gotten to yet. If you are on an essentials or higher plan, please feel free to reach out to your customer success manager with those questions or the CSM team, success@formassembly.com. We'll be more than happy to either get you those answers or get you to the right place to get those. Or if you want to create a support ticket, that's support@formassembly.com. We have a whole team there that would be more than happy to get you those answers as well. But thank you guys so much for coming. I know we weren't here for a long time, but we were here for a good time. And we really appreciate it and hope you're able to join some more sessions today.
That's right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time today. Enjoy the rest of FormFest. We'll be right there along with you. And we'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.